Good morning. My name is Rob Newman. I am an adjunct associate professor in aviation at Glendale Community College. Like to give you kind of a rundown of the program. We get a lot of questions, and unfortunately, it takes a lot of time to address all those questions. So I figured I would do this video. All the information in this video is current as of May 5th, 2025. Be aware that some information, including prices on flight labs and things like that, are subject to change going forward, but at least it gives you a sense of everything as of today. So first of all, the Glendale College Aviation Program has been around since 1929, so we've been at it a while. We're probably one of the oldest continuously operating aviation education programs in the country. We added flight training in 1998, at least in the more modern times. I'm not sure about earlier than that. We do train for private pilot certificate, instrument rating, as well as commercial pilot certificate in airplane single engine land. Our classroom classes are located on the main campus in Glendale on Verdugo Road off of the mountain exit on the 2 freeway. And we've got a wide range of classes. All of our flight training is at Whiteman Airport in Pacoima. We also offer associate's degrees and certificates in aviation. We'll get to that here in a moment. We do have 4 airplanes. We have 3 Cessna 172s, and they've been reasonably updated with moving map GPS and a little bit of glass panel display and whatnot. We also have a Piper Arrow for our commercial pilot training, a retractable gear complex airplane. For instrument, we have a pretty sophisticated flight simulator out at the airport, and to help out with students kind of translating what they learn in the classroom classes with what happens in an airplane, we also have a certified flight simulator on the main campus. We do have a really strong team. Our team is full of people who have a lot of broad experience, not just in aviation, but also outside of it as well. Everything from, research fellows, pilots, mechanic. We have a flight school owner who also is a graduate of our program and a professor over at Cal Poly, but she also teaches in our program. A retired fighter pilot, airport manager, architect, business people, a few CFIs. So we've got a pretty broad range of people and perspectives and expertise here in the on the staff. We have a wide range of classroom classes. So it all starts with private pilot ground school. That is your starting point. That's offered both fall and spring. Following up on that, it would be AT-121 navigation. I do not recommend that you take AT-121 navigation at the same time as private pilot ground school. Wait until you've completed ground school before you take navigation. Some of the other classes you can take along with ground school. You could take meteorology, radio procedures and flight regulations, airport operations, human factors. Those are perfectly fine. But start out with private pilot ground school. The other classes you can take once you've had ground school. As far as the AT-119 private pilot airplane practical test preparation, that particular class you take when you're getting ready for your private pilot check ride. As far as our flight training, we offer that in the form of flight labs. So they're kind of like chemistry labs, but a lot more expensive and way more fun. We'll get to those here in just a moment. We do also offer degrees and certificates in aviation at the college as well. Pilot training, airport administration, both degrees and certificates in those. In the flight attendant program, they are certificates. These degrees and certificates have been offered since just after World War II, so we've been doing these for quite a long time. So next up, I've got a series of frequently asked questions that hopefully will address many of the questions that you have. So right off the bat, do I need any exposure to aviation before starting the program? No, you don't. We have people who have never really spent time around small airplanes, and so this is a great place to start and kind of get your head wrapped around the whole thing. So no previous exposure to aviation is necessary. As far as the pilot licenses and ratings that you can earn at GCC, it's a private pilot certificate an instrument rating, and commercial pilot certificate, all with airplane single engine land category and class, meaning airplanes that have landing gear, land on the land, and only one engine. Costs, as far as the classroom costs, it's a regular community college. So it's regular community college tuition. If you're a California resident, at least as of the time of this video, $46 per unit, plus a few other modest schools and other fees. If you're not a California resident, then it's an out-of-state tuition rate. And then there are also books and materials and things. As far as the flight labs are organized around essentially stages or the certificates. So the very first flight lab, this one is 21 hours of flight instruction. It takes you from the very beginning on up through first solo. Now, to be clear, it's up to the flight instructor to decide whether you are competent and safe to solo. Okay, that is their decision to make. But you will get your 21 hours of flight instruction, and it is truly, our desire to get you to that first solo or through that first solo within the time of the lab. It does cost 3 units of tuition fees, books, supplies, and there is a lab fee of $3,500. In order to be eligible for AT-112 Private Pilot Lab 1, you must have completed Private Pilot Ground School. You must have a current passing private pilot airplane knowledge test certificate. So you must have completed the FAA knowledge test and received a passing grade. And you must have at least a third-class FAA medical certificate. Private Pilot Lab 2, which takes you from just after first solo on up through the private pilot check ride. Again, assuming your skills and knowledge are where they need to be for the check ride. That includes 27 hours of flight instruction and 11 hours of solo flight. You must have completed your first solo before you start. It's 2 units of tuition fees, books, and supplies, a lab fee of $5,700. There is also a check ride fee. That is paid to an FAA designated pilot examiner who is not an employee of the college. And so the applicant is paying that directly to the pilot examiner as their fee, and that's in the range of $1,000, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending upon the examiner and what the demand is at the time. For those who are ready to get their instrument rating, there's AT-114 Instrument Flight Lab. That includes 20 hours of flight instruction and 20 hours of simulator time. You must have your private pilot certificate and 50 hours of cross-country pilot and command time. You must have a current flight review and FAA medical certificate. The cost, 4 units of tuition, fees, books, supplies, and then a lab fee of $4,500. And again, there's a check ride fee payable to the FAA designated pilot examiner at the end. AT-115 commercial pilot flight training includes 15 hours of flight instruction in a complex airplane. You must have a private pilot certificate with instrument rating, as well as 250 hours total time, and as well as the other requirements in Part 61 of the FAA rules. You must have a current flight review and FAA medical certificate, 4 units of tuition, fees, books, and supplies, as well as a lab fee of $3,300. And again, there's a check ride fee payable to the pilot examiner at the end. For those of you looking for what the cost is overall to get to private pilot, if we add these things up, this is an estimate. So, depending upon what your needs are, what your preferences are, it could be a little bit different than this, but this at least puts you in the range. Is there financial aid? There is not currently financial aid available for the flight labs. As far as the classroom classes, check with your financial aid counselor. Does GCC operate under Part 61 or Part 141 of the FAA rules? We operate under Part 61. That allows us the flexibility that we need in order to properly, conduct the flight labs, the pilot training in the way that we see fit. Most flight schools actually operate under Part 61, but we are not Part 141 at this time. So how quickly can I become a professional pilot? And this is one that we get quite often from people who are either career changers or people on the younger end. It's a journey. There is a minimum flight time necessary to become an airline pilot. That's about 1,500 hours. Many become flight instructors after earning the commercial pilot certificate to build flight time. Airlines also require a couple more pilot certificates beyond what we offer, but GCC is a good starting point for that. How long does it take to earn a private pilot's license? Well, it's 3 semesters minimum. First semester, you would take AT-120 Private Pilot Ground School. Second semester, it would be AT-121 Navigation, AT-112 Private Pilot Lab. Please note that there is a waiting list. We do have more demand than we have spaces. And in the third semester, you would take AT-119 Private Pilot Practical Test Preparation and AT-113 Private Pilot Lab 2. What are the English language proficiency requirements? There is no specific English language requirement to take classes at GCC. However, according to the FAA rules, and this is a quote, they require pilots, flight instructors, and ground instructors to be able to read, write, speak, and understand the English language. And for more information, there's the advisory circular. You can go to www.faa.gov and look up the advisory circular and learn what the specifics are if that's something that you need to be concerned about. Can non-citizens become pilots? Yes. Non-citizens, though, must receive approval from the U.S. Transportation Security Administration prior to receiving flight training. If you need to receive that approval, the starting point for that is going to this website at the TSA, Transportation Security Administration. And yes, GCC is a TSA-approved flight training provider, and we do work with students who are not citizens. Can I use post-9/11 GI Bill benefits for pilot training? Yes, but there are some requirements and limitations. So I'm going to direct you to the GCC Veterans Resource Center to explore eligibility. Can I start my pilot training while still in high school? Yes, we have had ground school students as young as 13. However, FAA regulations require a student to be 16 to solo and 17 to earn a private pilot's license. Are there any medical or physical requirements to become a pilot? Yes, there are. The FAA requires private pilots to initially hold an FAA third-class medical certificate or higher. There are some medical standards that need to be met. That is obtained from an FAA Aviation medical examiner. And for more information, you can go to the website there. You can also go to the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association at aopa.org. They have a great amount of information helpful to people who want to learn to fly as well. Okay, some people already have flight hours from another flight instructor, and do they count? Yes, logged flight time is never lost, and all hours count toward the FAA requirements. However, keep in mind that the skills when you're learning to fly are perishable skills. And so while you have logged the flight time, okay, if you've been away from an airplane for a while, then your skills are going to be pretty rusty, or if it's been quite a while, they may be non-existent, and you're going to need to spend time with a flight instructor to get back up to speed. Also, we do have students that start elsewhere and finish up at GCC, as well as the other way around. Our flight labs, for example, okay, we're pretty rigid with a semester system, and with, flight labs being at a set time each week on a set date. That doesn't work for everybody, and it's perfectly fine to go do flight instruction somewhere else. So that is the kind of the introduction and frequently asked questions for the aviation program here at Glendale College. I hope it's helpful to you. If you do need more information, there's the contact information. You can also talk to the counselors over at the college as well.